Go through this one pretty quick. Basically, I'm going to show you how to repackage what I call boring or decontextualized text into something that better suits your students' needs and also kind of matches or is more in line with your teaching style and your attitude towards teaching, right? Nothing wrong with textbooks, nothing wrong with, just straight information. But as we know, that's not how we usually get our information. A lot of us don't get our information just from reading dry materials, right? We ask people. There's lectures, there's workshops, there's info sessions, there's meetings. Um, we get things from social media through conversations, and so we want to make sure that the students are exposed to all kinds of ways of communicating the same information. Essentially, the content would essentially be the same, right? And not only is it going to make your class more engaging, but which is good because you want when people are happy and excited, they're learning better, class goes by faster, so it's just more interesting, it's more tolerable, I guess. And but more than that, again, we're presenting information in different ways, right? Which is kind of what you see in real life. So anyway, this is something we did recently. It's about disasters and emergencies. It was our unit from January and some part of February. And what I did was I wanted students to learn about earthquake insurance because, it's a big part of living in Southern California or California in general. And it's supplemental, which means a lot of people choose not to do it. A lot of people don't even know that they don't have it. A lot of students come from countries where there aren't, a lot of earthquakes. So I wanted to make sure that they understood the basic information about earthquake insurance, but, in a more interesting way. So I found this website, insurance.ca.gov. I'm not sure how reliable it is, but I'm pretty sure the information here is fine. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to use ChatGPT primarily. So I'm going to copy the URL and I'm going to ask it something here. So please use the information in this URL or on this web page, on this web page to create a conversation between a married couple. They are debating whether to get insurance, earthquake insurance. One person is more risk averse, and the other person doesn't want to spend too much money on insurance. They would like to use that money to enjoy life. Okay, here's the webpage. Actually, I think I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's just, well, that's fine. Let's do that. Okay, so let's see what happens. Okay. Can zoom in a bit here. Okay, so what you see here is they're actually, I guess, putting citations from different websites, I guess, but that's fine. Again, the information's about the same. Oh, I see. Yeah, they're taking it from there. That's fine. Okay. So I can use the web page. All right. So I'll just read one part of it. So I've been thinking about our finances and I'm concerned about the potential impact of an earthquake on our home. Maybe we should consider getting earthquake insurance. I understand your concern, but have you looked into the cost? Earthquake insurance in California can be quite expensive, averaging around $850 per year, depending on factors like our home's age and location. Yes, it's an additional expense, but consider the potential costs. I see your point, but couldn't we invest in retrofitting our home instead? Making structural improvements might reduce potential damage. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that's fine. Sometimes people like to take only the text. Okay. So what I can do here is I can also just copy and paste the text. Yeah, because sometimes you get other things on the web page you may not like. Okay, so let's see here. Okay. So use this text instead. Okay. Let's see what happens here. Might be slightly different. So again, a big part of AI, of course, is just playing with the prompts, trying to narrow it down and refine it and revise it as needed to get exactly what you want. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so here's one. It does cover damage to the house, some personal property, and even additional living expenses if we have to stay somewhere else. And without it, we'd be on our own for everything. And then Jordan says, still, the deductibles are huge, sometimes up to 25% of the home's value. That means we'd still have to pay tens of thousands of dollars before insurance even kicks in. And that depends on the policy we choose. The CEA offers different deductible options as low as 5% for some homes. Okay. Anyway, so you get the picture, right? So here I'm taking that same basic content. You're seeing a lot of the same vocabulary, but we're presenting it as a conversation. Now, the conversation is still a little bit smooth, right? So what I can do is, what I like to do for my students is I like to make the conversations less safe or less smooth and try to introduce some friction into them, or just anything to make it more dynamic, right? So I'm going to add this. We can use the same names, that's fine. Which one is the risk averse one? Jordan. Okay, so Jordan is insistent on getting their way and eventually gets Alex to eventually convinces Alex to change their mind. Okay, so now we can make it a little persuasive or convincing, right? This is a great thing to do with students. How to persuade or convince somebody. So let's see what happens. Okay, so Alex says FEMA mostly offers loans, not free money. We still have to pay that back. Jordan says, right, but that's only if we even need it. We could also just put aside some savings for an emergency instead of paying expensive premiums year after year. Okay, so Jordan's trying to convince Alex. So Alex says, I guess that's true. We could just make some upgrades to the house, retrofit it to make it stronger. Okay. So this version shows Jordan steadily convincing Alex. And you'll see a history of the chat and the prompts. So I'll make that available as well so you can go through the whole process and read through it line by line. It would take too long to do it here in the video. I'm just kind of showing you how to do it. So please provide a breakdown of how Jordan is able to convince Alex. Okay, so now the students can go over like, okay, how is Jordan able to convince Alex? And then you can have the students talk about it and then give them the answers later, right? You can have them look at what phrases are used and then they can expand on that by having role plays in other situations involving insurance, which is what I did with my students. We expanded it to talk about different types of insurance, pet insurance, auto insurance, health insurance, travel insurance. I think you can write car when you rent a car, rent a car insurance, whatever you call that. So we looked at all these different insurance situations. But anyway, let's see what we got here. So financial logic, Jordan highlights the cost of earthquake insurance. Jordan argues that the money spent on insurance might never result in tangible benefit. Okay. Jordan argues that most homes in California survive earthquakes with only minor damage and that the risk of total destruction is relatively low. Okay, so I don't want to go too much into this because I think that's kind of outside of the scope of the original intention of this video, but just to give you an idea of how, it's not just to make things more interesting on a superficial level, but these can lead to a lot of discussions and role play and practice and analysis about communication style. So you're taking this dry text and you're turning it into a conversation where things are happening. It's more dynamic, right? Each character in that story or conversation has a different motive or a different goal. It doesn't have to be antagonistic, but there could be some kind of dynamic aspect to it, right? Anyway, so let's try another, I guess, a context. So let's take that same original text about earthquake insurance and present it as a news program. Okay. I don't know. Let's just see what happens. I've never tried this before. Okay, so maybe a conversation is too informal. That's not what you're looking for. You want students to look at a more formal, structured situation. I have never done this before, as I mentioned, but I think I might try this in the future. Again, we a lot of information we get is contextualized, right? I mean, not to say that something from a web page isn't contextualized, because I mean that is the context, that it's a web page. It could be an advertisement for a or it could be part of a company. It could be a government agency, whatever. But I think you understand what I'm trying to get at, right? We want to present information to students in all kinds of ways, in all kinds of contexts. The way that we often encounter information in our own lives. Okay, so good evening. Welcome to California News Now. I'm whoever. Let's take a closer look at a crucial issue. They're a fact of life in our state. Are we truly prepared for the financial consequences of when the next big one strikes? Okay, so again, very simple stuff as far as the prompts go. And then we have the reporter, graphic on screen. I mean, you can take these out when you're editing them, that's fine. Or you can put a graphic in there, if you want to. I don't know, you can just put you can find a picture in like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, right? Let's see here. Let's go down a little bit. Oh, it's between a reporter and an anchor. Okay, so it's still a bit of a two-way, situation here, but it's still not quite a conversation either. It's more structured and scripted. Does earthquake insurance cover everything? The answer is no. The primary purpose of earthquake insurance is to help put a roof back over your head. Ooh, we got some idioms, I guess. Not to fully replace all of your belongings. There are limits on what is covered. Okay. So, Okay, what about costs? Okay. All right, anyway, so you can see what's going on here. And then you can have the students read them out loud. You can have them focus on, intonation and emphasis, something that you might show them a news program and then have them kind of mimic the rhythm and the stress variation and things like that, okay? Let's try one more. How about this one? Reddit. So please take that information from the original text and create a Reddit style post and reply discussion board where people or users are helping each other out. And then I'm going to put in, yeah. So we did something similar to this with the California EV mandate for 2035, where all new vehicle sales must be EV or zero emission EV or plug-in hybrids. And so we took that information from a website and then I repackaged it as a Reddit post. And so students were kind of pretending to be, Reddit message board users. And so they got the same basic information, but it kind of looked like, the way that I encounter a lot of information. which is through Reddit, right? And there's links, and we have discussions with other people. I learn from other people's discussions. So let's see what it says here. Um, so this, I mean, it doesn't have to look 100% accurate, right? The key is just to provide different context to make it more engaging, right? So did you know that homeowners insurance does not cover earthquake damage? So should you get earthquake insurance? Here's the breakdown. Okay, so breakdown. So again, the way that information is presented here is very realistic. It's not what you would probably learn in the beginning as an English learner, but I mean, a lot of information is presented this way these days, right? In bullet points and so on. And then what we have is the replies. See, this is what I like. So it sounds like other people are sharing information, right? So this is really cool and kind of funny, right? It doesn't have to look 100% accurate, but at least it mirrors what students might see, and we definitely see in our, in our daily lives. So and then they can reply to these posts, whatever. Actually, make it sound like the original poster is very confused about earthquake insurance, and the other users are trying to help clarify things. Okay, so maybe this will be a little bit better. Okay, so this is like someone who just bought their first house, and now they're like, "Oh my God, I don't have earthquake insurance, right? I didn't know that. So what do I do, right? Should I do it? Should I not do it?" And this happens a lot too, right? I see this a lot. I'm a regular user of Reddit, specifically for I have a back injury, so I go on Reddit a lot to share information, but also to learn things, and for other topics too. But I think I primarily use it for like fitness and exercise and physical therapy and things like that. So I answer questions, I help other people, but I also look for information from others. So this is great stuff here, right? And the students can also answer questions too, like I mentioned, so they can participate in this. Even if they're just writing on paper, it still kind of feels more realistic, right? And then from the replies is where we get a lot of the information. So anyway, and you can see how much time it took me, right? I think generating the response takes almost as long as writing the prompt. So really doesn't take much time, and I think the students will really appreciate it too. And as a teacher, it's going to be more interesting for you as well, and you can tailor make it to whatever your students need, or if there's any breaking news or any relevant things happening in the world or in LA or Orange County or whatever. Okay, so I'm going to stop there with that. So that you can use web pages, you're getting the information from there. Now, one thing that I've had to do recently, and I think it's a good thing to do in general, but a lot of times we're using textbooks that provide a good, I guess, like frame or structure for the class. You've got your topics, you've got your units, your topics, your grammar, this and that, so it gives you kind of a structure for your semester that you can hang everything else on. Then you can have your special, Martin Luther King Jr. Day lesson, your Valentine's Day lesson, your CASAS, your civics. But a lot of times if you have a textbook, you do have this kind of basic structure for the entire term. Unfortunately, depending on the textbook you're using, it can be pretty dry, right? So I've encountered this problem recently with a couple of my textbooks. So you could scan it. So you can type manually from the textbook, type that content into ChatGPT or another document. That's fine. What I've been doing is I've been using a cam scanner app on my phone. There's other ones, but I use cam scanner, and I've been converting it to Word files. Now, ChatGPT doesn't like PDF or Google Doc. It has a lot of trouble reading those. So you can either copy and paste directly into it, or what I do is I just convert it to a Word file, and then I just shove it right into ChatGPT. So let me show you an example. Actually, I'm going to take out this one here. God, this one was really boring, but let me show you another one. Okay, so this is for a beginning level, beginning high grammar class, and man, this is dull. So in the United States, many students choose to go to a community college. And I scanned this on my camera and then I converted it to Word. Now, it's not going to be 100% accurate because it's converting from an image, but it doesn't matter because, ChatGPT will figure it out. So as long as there's no egregious errors. So many students choose to go to a community college. Students can get a 2-year certificate or degree. Some students start their education at a community college. Then they go to, right? I'm already falling asleep. So now this type of reading, of course, this type of reading is important to learn, but unfortunately, like this textbook and a lot of textbooks, this is the primary method of delivery of information is this kind of standard, very generic text, right? So we don't want to exclude this or omit this completely. We do want to do this type of reading with students, but that should not be the exclusive way that students get their information, right? So I'm going to take this text. Now, either I can copy and paste it, or I can just shoot the file into ChatGPT. So I'm just going to upload the file just so I can show you. The only thing is I'm not sure. See, I paid $20 a month. So I'm not sure if the free versions of ChatGPT can upload files. I actually don't remember. But if you can't do it, if you don't want to pay for it, then I think you can just copy and paste the text. I think a lot of people are already doing that. I just like to upload files. Um, I can actually take a whole textbook lesson, like 3 or 4 pages of the lesson, and then I can upload it and say, make me a better lesson. But anyway, that's a whole different discussion. So I've uploaded that text, and I'm going to say, please present this information as a conversation between a parent and a parent of a student and a teacher. The parent is trying to figure out what to do for their child's education after high school. I don't know. Let's just see what happens. I don't want to spend too much time thinking about the prompt because I can always refine it later. But this is something that happens a lot, especially we have a lot of, immigrants who aren't aware of the U.S. education system because it can be very different from other countries. So thank you for taking the time to meet with me. Okay, so you get basically getting this same information. Okay, on average, tuition at a community college is much lower, around 3,264 per year, compared to about 8,893 at a state university. That can make a big difference, especially if he's unsure about what he wants to study, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so again, we're getting the same basic facts, but now we're getting it as a conversation, right? Now, this is a little bit high, to be honest, for beginning high students. The original text seemed a little bit high. I should say, please make this more accessible to beginning level ESL students. Okay, let's see what it does. Okay, it's still a little bit high, I think, for my beginning high students. They're level 200. But I think this is fine. This is still better. It's still more interesting than the original text, and this is a little more accessible than the previous conversation, the previous version. They're actually rounding the numbers, which I think is fine too. Okay. Great stuff. Okay, and as I mentioned, all this entire conversation with ChatGPT, all the prompts and the results, it'll all be in one document so you can kind of go through it at your own pace. Okay, and then you just keep revising the prompts. I mean, you can keep it simple. You can make it a little more tailor-made to what you want. Let's, for example, our school, let's say my students live in the LA, Los Angeles and Orange County area. Please adjust information accordingly. Okay, let's see. And this is actually what I did with the actual lessons is I made everything specific to like Long Beach, Fullerton, Cerritos, UCLA, USC, so the general LA Orange County area. So I made the information a lot more specific to that, which is what we should be doing, right? Okay. Yeah, so now it has Cal State, UC, CSU Fullerton, Cal State Fullerton, UC Irvine, blah, 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 Santa Ana College. Hey, yo, right? Okay, anyway, so I think that is about enough. So the basic idea is you take a text, and often they are decontextualized or they're very dry, I should say, and you can repackage it in any way that you want. Um, you can, I highly recommend if you do conversations to have some kind of dynamic thing going on between the two speakers, the interlocutors, as you might say, just so students can see kind of more of an authentic conversation versus what you typically see in textbooks, which are very smooth, frictionless. You can have it look like a news program, a documentary. You can have it look like an investigative report where they're uncovering some kind of scandal. Again, you can make it kind of spooky or scary. Um, all kinds of situations. Again, you're really only limited by your imagination and your creativity. But, just whatever you think would be interesting for your students, something that mirrors your own teaching style as well. If you like to be a little bit more serious with your students, then, there's no reason to make it goofy, right? Um, so whatever you think would be best for you and for your students and for their learning. And again, I think the idea here is context, 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 a variety of contexts that kind of reflect what we see day to day and not just, dry essay type of text. Okay, which are important too. As I said, students do need to encounter those. They will encounter those as well, especially on tests, right? So they do need to read those kind of dry texts as well. And a lot of reading that we do is dry anyway. But that shouldn't be the primary. I don't think that should be the primary type of text that they encounter. So yeah, I think that's about it. So again, check out the accompanying document so you can see the prompt and the results, the whole chat history. Okay.